There are actions that etch themselves into a woman's memory forever. Not grand gestures or expensive gifts, but moments of character that reveal the depth of a man's soul. Today we're exploring the specific behaviors that create lasting impressions, the kind that women remember decades later when recounting the men who truly mattered in their lives. These aren't tactics or strategies designed to manipulate memory. They're expressions of authentic masculinity, grounded in Stoic principles of virtue, character, and genuine care for others. The men who become unforgettable don't try to be memorable. They simply embody qualities so rare and valuable that they naturally leave permanent impressions. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of our actions defining our character and legacy. In relationships, the actions that create lasting memory are those that reveal authentic strength, genuine care, and unwavering principle. These moments become reference points that shape how a woman views masculinity, relationships, and her own worth for years to come. The first thing women never forget is when a man protects her without being asked. Not physical protection necessarily, though that matters, but the deeper protection of her dignity, reputation, and emotional well-being. This protection shows up in countless ways that demonstrate character. When someone speaks poorly of her in her absence, and you defend her character without seeking credit, when she's being treated disrespectfully by a waiter, clerk, or colleague, and you calmly but firmly address the situation, when she's feeling vulnerable or insecure, and you create a safe space where she doesn't have to perform or pretend. This protection is memorable because it's rare. Most men either ignore situations where protection is needed, thinking it's not their business, or they overreact in ways that create more problems than solutions. The man who steps in appropriately, who protects without being controlling, who stands up for what's right without making it about himself, becomes unforgettable. Epictetus taught that we have a duty to protect those who cannot protect themselves and to stand up for justice when we encounter injustice. This principle, applied to relationships, creates moments that women carry with them forever because they reveal authentic strength and moral courage. The protection that creates lasting memory isn't about being her knight in shining armor or treating her as helpless. It's about being the kind of man who naturally stands against injustice and creates safety for those around him. This quality becomes unforgettable because it demonstrates character that goes beyond personal benefit. The second unforgettable behavior is truly listening to her without trying to fix, judge, or change what she's sharing. Most men, when a woman shares something emotional or personal, immediately jump to problem-solving mode or offer unsolicited advice. The man who simply listens with full presence becomes extraordinarily memorable. This kind of listening is active and engaged. You're not waiting for your turn to speak or thinking about what you'll say next. You're fully present with her experience, asking thoughtful questions that help her explore her own thoughts and feelings, and creating space for her to be completely authentic. Women remember this because it's incredibly rare. Most people listen to respond rather than to understand. The man who listens to understand, who makes her feel heard and seen, who doesn't try to minimize her experiences or immediately offer solutions, creates a profound sense of connection and safety. The Stoics valued wisdom above all other virtues, and true wisdom includes understanding when to speak and when to listen. Seneca wrote about the importance of being quick to listen and slow to speak. This principle, applied to relationships, creates moments of connection that women never forget. This listening creates lasting memory because it validates her experience and makes her feel valued for who she is rather than what she provides. In a world where most interactions are transactional or superficial, the man who listens deeply stands out as truly exceptional. The third unforgettable behavior is keeping his word consistently, especially in small matters. When you say you'll call at a specific time and you actually call at that time. When you promise to meet somewhere and you arrive when you said you would. When you commit to doing something and you follow through without reminders or nagging. This reliability is memorable because it's becoming increasingly rare. We live in a culture of casual commitment where people say yes without thinking and break promises without consequence. The man who treats his word as sacred, who honors commitments regardless of size, becomes unforgettable because he demonstrates integrity in action. Women remember this because reliability in small things indicates reliability in big things. If you can't be trusted to call when you say you will, how can you be trusted with major life decisions, emotional vulnerabilities, or long-term commitments? The man who proves his trustworthiness through consistent small actions builds a foundation of trust that becomes unforgettable. The Stoics believed that character is revealed through daily actions, not dramatic gestures. Marcus Aurelius practiced this by treating every commitment, regardless of size, as an opportunity to demonstrate virtue. This approach to promises and commitments creates lasting impressions because it reveals character consistently over time. The fourth thing women never forget is when a man shows genuine vulnerability without becoming needy or weak. There's a difference between healthy vulnerability that demonstrates emotional maturity and unhealthy vulnerability that seeks validation or pity. The man who can share his struggles, fears, or uncertainties while maintaining his strength becomes extraordinarily memorable. This might mean admitting when you're wrong without making excuses, sharing a personal struggle you're working through without expecting her to fix it, expressing genuine emotion about something meaningful without becoming dramatic or manipulative, asking for support when you genuinely need it without becoming dependent or clingy. Women remember this because it reveals authentic humanity beneath masculine strength. Most men either share too much too quickly, becoming emotionally overwhelming, or share nothing at all, remaining distant and unknowable. The man who finds the balance between strength and openness creates deep connection and lasting memory. The Stoics understood that true strength includes the courage to be honest about our limitations and challenges. Seneca wrote extensively about his own struggles with anger, fear, and uncertainty. This honesty about human frailty, combined with commitment to growth, creates authenticity that women find unforgettable. The fifth unforgettable behavior is celebrating her successes without making it about yourself. When she gets a promotion, achieves a goal, or experiences something positive, the memorable man genuinely celebrates her victory without jealousy, competition, or attempts to redirect attention to himself. This celebration is authentic and generous. You're genuinely happy for her success because you care about her well-being and growth. You don't minimize her achievement or compare it to your own accomplishments. You don't use her success as an opportunity to talk about your own goals or challenges. Women remember this because many men struggle with supporting women's success. Some become competitive or jealous. Others try to take credit or make it about themselves. The man who can genuinely celebrate another person's victory without ego involvement demonstrates emotional maturity and secure masculinity that becomes unforgettable. The sixth thing that creates lasting memory is standing by your principles even when it costs you something. When you refuse to compromise your values for social acceptance, financial gain, or even her approval, when you make decisions based on what's right rather than what's easy or profitable, when you maintain your integrity even when no one would know if you compromised. This might mean turning down an opportunity that conflicts with your values, refusing to participate in gossip or behavior that goes against your character, making difficult decisions based on principle rather than convenience, standing up for your beliefs even when it's unpopular or costly. Women remember this because it demonstrates character that goes beyond personal benefit. Most people compromise their principles when the price is right or the pressure is strong. The man who maintains his values, regardless of external pressure, becomes unforgettable because he represents moral strength that's increasingly rare. Marcus Aurelius faced enormous pressure to compromise his principles for political expedience, but he consistently chose virtue over convenience. This commitment to principle, regardless of cost, creates respect and memory that lasts long after the immediate situation is forgotten. The seventh unforgettable behavior is treating everyone with consistent respect, regardless of their ability to benefit you. How you treat waiters, clerks, children, elderly people, or anyone who can't directly help you reveals your true character. Women watch these interactions carefully because they indicate how you'll treat her when the novelty wears off. This consistent respect isn't about being nice to everyone. It's about recognizing the inherent dignity of every person and treating them accordingly. You're polite to the homeless person, not because you expect anything in return, but because politeness is part of your character. You're patient with the slow cashier, not because it benefits you, but because patience is who you are. Women remember this because it reveals authentic character that exists independent of personal benefit. Many men can be charming when they want something, but reveal their true nature in how they treat those who can't help them. The man whose character remains consistent, regardless of context, becomes unforgettable. The eighth thing women never forget is when you remember important details about her life without being asked or reminded. Not just obvious things like her birthday, but smaller details that show you pay attention because you genuinely care. Her favorite coffee order, her sister's name, the project she's working on, the book she mentioned wanting to read. This remembering is meaningful because it demonstrates that she matters enough for you to pay attention to her life beyond surface-level interactions. In a world of distracted, self-absorbed people, the man who genuinely listens and remembers creates profound feelings of being valued and seen. Women remember this because it makes them feel important and cared for in a way that goes beyond grand gestures or expensive gifts. The man who remembers her concerns about her mother's health, asks about the presentation she was nervous about, or brings up something she mentioned weeks ago demonstrates care that creates lasting emotional impact. The ninth unforgettable behavior is maintaining your own standards and boundaries without being controlling about hers. You have clear standards for how you want to be treated, what behavior you'll accept, and what kind of relationship you want to build. But you don't try to control her choices or impose your standards on her life. This balance between having boundaries and respecting her autonomy is memorable because it demonstrates self-respect without being controlling. You know what you will and won't tolerate in your own life, but you don't try to manage her decisions or behavior. You maintain your standards while allowing her the freedom to maintain hers. Women remember this because it creates a dynamic of mutual respect rather than control or submission. The man who has standards but isn't controlling, who knows his worth but doesn't diminish hers, creates a relationship dynamic that feels both secure and free. The 10th thing that creates lasting memory is supporting her during difficult times without trying to fix everything or make it about yourself. When she's going through challenges, loss, or struggle, the memorable man provides steady presence and support without overwhelming her with advice or taking on her problems as his own. This support might mean simply being present during difficult conversations, offering practical help when appropriate without taking over, listening to her concerns without immediately jumping to solutions, being available when she needs support without becoming intrusive when she needs space. Women remember this because it demonstrates emotional maturity and the ability to provide support without becoming burdensome. Many men either avoid emotional difficulty entirely or become so involved that they create additional stress. The man who can provide steady, appropriate support during challenges becomes unforgettable because he proves his reliability during the times that matter most. The 11th unforgettable behavior is expressing genuine appreciation for who she is, not just what she does for you. You notice and acknowledge her character, her growth, her unique qualities, and her contributions to the world beyond what benefits you directly. This appreciation is specific, authentic, and focused on her intrinsic value as a person. This might mean acknowledging her kindness to others, recognizing her professional accomplishments, appreciating her creative talents, or simply expressing gratitude for her unique perspective and presence in your life. The key is that this appreciation is genuine and focused on her inherent worth rather than transactional benefits. Women remember this because it makes them feel valued for who they are rather than what they provide. In relationships where appreciation is only expressed for services rendered or benefits received, this genuine recognition of character and worth becomes extraordinarily meaningful and memorable. The 12th and perhaps most powerful thing women never forget is when a man chooses her consistently, especially during times when that choice isn't easy or obvious, when other options are available, when she's not at her best, when the relationship requires work, when social pressure suggests different choices, the memorable man continues choosing her through his actions and priorities. This choosing isn't dramatic declarations of love or grand romantic gestures. It's the consistent daily choice to prioritize the relationship, to work through difficulties rather than avoiding them, to invest time and energy even when it's inconvenient, to remain committed even during challenging periods. Women remember this because it demonstrates the kind of loyalty and commitment that creates true security in relationships. Anyone can choose someone when it's easy, exciting, and new. The man who continues choosing through difficulty, growth, and the mundane realities of long-term connection proves his character in ways that become unforgettable. The common thread through all these behaviors is authenticity, character, and genuine care for another person's well-being. None of these actions are techniques or strategies designed to create specific outcomes. They're expressions of virtue that naturally create lasting positive impressions, because they reveal rare qualities of character. The Stoics taught that we should focus on becoming worthy of good outcomes rather than trying to manipulate specific results. When you develop genuine character, practice authentic virtue, and treat others with consistent respect and care, you naturally become the kind of person who creates lasting positive memories. These behaviors become unforgettable because they're increasingly rare in our self-focused, transactional culture. The man who protects without being asked, listens without trying to fix, keeps his word consistently, shows healthy vulnerability, celebrates others' success, stands by his principles, treats everyone with respect, remembers important details, maintains boundaries respectfully, provides appropriate support, expresses genuine appreciation, and chooses consistently through difficulty stands out as exceptional. The goal isn't to perform these behaviors to be remembered. The goal is to develop the character that makes these behaviors natural expressions of who you are. When you become genuinely protective, authentically caring, reliably trustworthy, and consistently principled, these memorable moments happen naturally as expressions of your developed character. This approach takes longer than learning specific techniques or strategies, but it creates lasting impact based on genuine value rather than temporary impression based on performance. The man who focuses on character development becomes naturally memorable because he embodies qualities that are both rare and deeply valued. If you're ready to become the kind of man who creates lasting positive memories through authentic character, rather than calculated behavior, comment below, "I choose authentic character."